We are now going to attempt to bring in 3 panelists. So Phil Ray, CEO of Adept, Chris Morrissey, Managing Director of Lilly, and Martin Dunn, Managing Director of MTech. And we're going to be just talking to them a little bit about their experiences of Corona, how they're adapting their business and what they're seeing in the market. Is anybody there?
So I've made Martin and Chris a panelist. I'm just doing Phil now.
I've done it.
All done.
Okay. It sounds like we've got some people online. Can we have a hello from anybody? I can see Martin looking lovely there with the trees behind you. Fantastic. We've got Chris.
Hi guys.
And we've got Phil. How are you doing? Thank you very much for joining us, gentlemen. Much appreciated. What we wanted to do was really just have a few questions and talk them through and see how you're doing and how you're adapting to all of the changes that have been going on in the market recently. That work for all of you?
Yeah, fine.
Good stuff. Well, I think first question really is, how do you see the market changing as we exit the Corona lockdown and start returning to a new normal, as everybody calls it? Martin, maybe you could kick off on that one.
Yes, I'm having deja vu, so I'm hoping this one's going to work this time after last week's little shenanigans. So I
can hear you loud and clear.
I've done my hair again today. I've been giving it a bit of a polish. So, so the market, I think, it's a bit strange with us because we're quite new to in business. I'm not new to the market, the industry, but new in business. We've kind of had to put a bit of a freeze into a bit on our own business, completely just supporting our customers. So we've been very heavily focused on the support aspect at the moment, rather than trying to obviously get the selling going, because obviously we don't have any big revenues that we sit on at the moment, which is the challenge. But what we're excited about, what we think is going to change out there is people need to address their communications, and I think that is something that gives us an upper hand, I suppose, because there's less chance of people using the age-old expression, my telephone works, I can hear you on it, you can hear me on it, it rings, I answer it. If they ring and miss me, they'll call back, sort of thing. So we've got a bit of a different angle to go in on now. And so, less around all BT's changes and that, but it's actually about new working methods and flexibility. So that's how I think is going to be strength for us.
Okay, makes sense. Phil or Chris, are you happy to pick up that one?
Yeah, I think what are the changes in the market? I think the first thing is the obvious one is there's going to be less face-to-face meetings. We haven't had a single salesperson in the field through the whole thing yet. We've done lots of business, and I think that new way of working needs a new approach. And I don't think, I think we all sit here probably a little bit smug. Well, there's devastation going out through the whole economy, the whole world, and we're sat here thinking, thank fuck that happened. Now all of a sudden everybody's going to listen to us when we're banging on about video and collaboration and presence and all these things we've been talking about for years, and all of a sudden people are going, oh yeah, I need it now. So I think there's a slight smirk of satisfaction there. I think the market is changing in terms of SMEs having to accept now that they need a solution, and I think a lot of the customers we're talking to now realise that when they come back and lockdown's eased, there's a danger it might come back again, and I think they're getting themselves almost prepared for that and the eventuality, which may or may not happen, nobody knows. But I think they understand there's a necessity, and there's also a necessity for a solution. Rather than necessarily just going and buying a telephone system, they recognise there's lots of various things they need to put in place in order to prepare their business for the changing market for themselves, never mind for us, but how they do business. And I don't think that there's not a single businessman I've spoken to who said they will come back and do everything the same way. Lots of them are talking about business having changed forever in all markets, really. So lots of changes.
Thanks, Phil. You're going last, so you've got that difficult slot, but I'll switch you around next time, I promise.
That's all right. So just to expand on that, a couple of things. I'd like to add. I think there's certainly the whole point of IT, communications, conferencing, whereas prior to this, it probably was lower down a priority list. I think now it would certainly be top 5 and probably number 1 in terms of on the agenda of the senior teams we're engaging with. So I think that's, as Chris says, I wouldn't quite use the word smart, but I think it's really, it's something we've been evangelizing for years. So to be at the top of the list is fantastic. I think that's the first thing. Second thing is there's so much uncertainty around about how big a business is going to be, how long that business is going to survive, the changes to the economy. There's mass uncertainty in people's minds. So one of the things that we are having to adapt to is the long-term 3-year or 5-year contract, that fixed agreement that we were very comfortable in persuading people to jump onto previously. That's disappearing. We need to be very adaptable with our partners to allow our clients to commit, but also for us to be flexible.
Understand. So are there any changes I'm sure there are, making in your business to adapt to this new market condition? So that you talked a lot about how you see the market changing. How are you specifically going to be changing and addressing these? And Phil, maybe you can kick that one off.
Okay, I mean, comes a whole host of things. I mean, we've very much focused on over communicating to our staff. We've got 308 members of staff who historically worked out of offices, and now they're working at kitchen tables, and they've got laptops sitting on ironing boards, and it's a very different world, and you get to peek into people's home lives, and there are dogs sitting on laps, and there are children sort of coming in, and it's a very disrupted and very different sort of world they're living in. So in recognition of that, we actually did we implemented an employee assistance program. So if people are feeling stressed or there's any particular problems they're facing, there's a totally anonymous helpline that our staff have available to us. That's been very well received. And we've actually just done a poll of our staff about how they feel in this sort of lockdown situation. And we had one of the top issues was distractions, but now they're able to manage those distractions, obviously. And on productivity, a really interesting feedback that 92% of the staff feel that their productivity has either stayed the same or has actually increased from working at home. Now, I think that's I think it's been sunny outside, and maybe our company hasn't been running at full tilt because of certain market pressures, but nonetheless, that's a pretty resounding endorsement that firstly, fortunately, we've got the technology right, but also there's a desire to work in this way, and we just need to leap onto that.
I can definitely relate to the productivity. I feel that myself. It's definitely upped productivity. Chris, how about you? In terms of changes you're making.
Yeah, and I think as Bill, we've had to adapt to people sat with a laptop on the knees and working with kids and dogs running around after them. I think the first thing really was we had to put some structured training into our management team to help them navigate the working from home journey that we've all experienced in terms of managing people. Because I think typically salespeople, you're used to them working from home, but typically operational people, you're not. And I think the British way of looking at things is we know the old I'm working from home on Friday mentality, which is endemic through the whole space. And I think learning to then take operational people and put them into that environment and learning to trust them, and also more importantly to equip them with the skills that they need to be able to cope with working from home has been an important thing. And we've done individual sessions with groups of operational employees and managers into covering that subject. It's needed some new skills. Managing people at a distance isn't the same as managing somebody who's sat opposite you, or you can see, or you can touch, and you can feel. And it needs, a lot of new skills really. How have we adapted? We've done a hell of a lot of remote installations. I think during the period we've done at least 75% of the installations with either completed in full or completed after the engineers physically been to site to plug stuff in remotely. And I think that's that's really helped us and open our eyes in terms of the efficiencies you can gain in doing that, which has been has been enlightening. Obviously, some of the solutions that you guys are launching at the moment are going to exacerbate that and help us even further in terms of remote provisioning the things. So well done to you, hats off, and hats off to Ericsson to support you to do that. And I think the last thing really is realizing, and it's a cold light of day, that now you can't walk into a customer and sell him something and move away. You have to keep a relationship, and to become that trusted advisor, particularly in a time of crisis, is really important. And I think when you have to have that discussion, and it's sometimes a difficult discussion with a customer to say you're doing it all wrong and you need to do it this way, if you're the trusted advisor, it's a lot easier conversation to have, whether if you're a supplier that you haven't really had that relationship with that customer in any depth before. And I think that's a differentiator. So quite a few changes.
Yeah, definitely. And Martin, how about you? How are you looking to kind of adapt the business and change the business to meet the new normal, the new market as we come into it?
Yeah, well, it's what's really interesting from us is, as I say, we're 2 years in, so year 3 for us was going to be all about, we did all the growth, we put in a lot of the processes and the structure and the systems, and the 3rd year was all about going to be, for us, profits and making some really good money, because we didn't need to invest anything else in this. So for us, February and March, we were with our first sort of 2 months of our new financial year. We thought we've cracked it, but even better because our numbers were just rocketing. But it did come to a quick halt, and obviously we had to re-look at everything again. And it was something that we obviously couldn't predict. And there was a moment of a bit of panic in there, obviously, and a bit of stress. But towards the sort of before all of it happened, we automatically started moving over to webinars. We run quite a lot of software anyway, cloud-based, with so things like for the telemarketing teams, we run Pipedrive, which I think Dan also uses that. We had a fault with a data system that we were using, and it basically was hopeless. So we moved over to Pipedrive, and there's an element of relief in that, because it meant that we had to furlough people, but what we will be doing now is working remotely. Everyone can access that system really easily, manage the data, plus we've got visibility of what's going on, so we can see the records that are going in and how the telemarketing team is coping with that and how they're working. So we definitely want to change. That's great, because that's a change we'd already made, so it's just adapting that to home working as well. And the webinar stuff, the sales guys are really enjoying doing those webinars, and we've been doing a few throughout this. We're not heavily going at it. We really haven't been. We've had to kind of use the furlough scheme heavily as a business, just because otherwise we would not survive. It would have been impossible. So what we have done is use that, but where we have been able to do some webinars, we're finding it actually quite a nice way of working. And I think what we in MTech and where I was previous, one of the things that's quite irritating is when you're booking an appointment, the drop-off rate is quite high. So we were running at about a 57-58% sit rate across the year, which we consider that quite good. We're quite happy with that level, and then close rates sitting around 25 to 30%. So we're quite happy with that before all of this. But what I'm hoping is with the webinar introduction is not only does it give the sales guys less time out and about traveling around like mad, but we can probably get more webinars booked in a day, which is a nice introduction before necessarily a visit. So, yes, we're still happy to go and do visits, but I think what we're going to do is just adjust ourselves ever so slightly, and maybe we'll go out on the road only 3 days a week instead of 4 days a week, or we're kind of going to sort of see how we go. But I think it's definitely a method to work forward with, to try and get around more people and just break down that, needing a meeting face to face. I think it's easier to accept a webinar, and we've become so used to it so quickly. But I think, just lastly, the other thing that we're adjusting is we're new. We grew fast, really fast. We went from 0 employees to 56 employees in under 2 years. It's crackers. But what's happened with that, you realise, or I realised, that actually you lose touch of quite a lot when you're moving at such a rate. And so this has been a really good stress test of other areas of our business that I think, hang on a minute, we've got, you know, too many people working in that system, and you know what's been going on, and it's really been a really good stress test for us to understand our business and how we are working, and actually we're probably too heavy at the moment, and we need to look at our business and sort of remodel it, I suppose, and take stock of the situation and go, well, let's look at every single aspect of it now, phasing people back in gently and measuring it to make sure that actually this business is stronger, working better than it's ever worked, and ultimately puts us in a stronger position to carry forward. So yeah, we've got quite a lot of challenges, but it's exciting stuff, and we're sort of looking forward to it all now.
Absolutely. I think we can all relate to that sense of we've had a good amount of time to think about our businesses and how we can improve it and what we can do differently, what we can do better, which has been one of the positive outcomes of this. Are there some changes you'd be looking to make in terms of the product that you lead with? I'm trying to remember now, and I have to admit I've forgotten who's up first on this one, so we do it on a volunteer basis. But what products are you planning to lead with as you get back out there?
You go, Chris,
Well,
if you want.
Yeah, I think it's Chris's turn.
Right.
That's what you call a hospital pass. Actually, in terms of product proposition, we haven't really, we've not changed anything at all, other than, you know, more recently, obviously, and you know, you've touched on it here, your launch of your integration with Teams, which is absolutely fantastic news for us, because obviously there are integrations out there with other SIP providers, and you know, just to integrate it properly with a telephone system, yeah, that means, you know, extensions to extension dialing, and Teams becomes part of a platform, is absolutely perfect. And it was one area of the proposition from ELG that was missing. And it's, you know, there's an awful lot of people out there using Teams right today we can enter into a conversation with. But I think the proposition we've had is, you know, we entered into the IT world about 2.5 years ago, a little bit with intrepidation, a little bit of naivety, if I'm honest, knowing it was the right step to make, and it's absolutely proven dividends, because, you know, linking the telephony solution with IT and everything that touches the local area network is absolutely, for us, the right decision. And more, you know, I mentioned it before in the previous question about becoming a trusted advisor to the client. You know, it just consolidates that, and whether it be with a new client or whether it be with an existing client, you know, having the right digital transformation solution for every eventuality you come across is absolutely brilliant. So, yeah, well done you guys for getting a good Teams. Yeah, because it's really will add an awful lot to the proposition. We're still sending on premise, believe it or not, and we're still sending a reasonable amount of it. So no, not everybody's completely convinced by the digital transformation, but you know, so we've not changed as a result of COVID really anything. It's more the methodology, and as I said before, you know, remote installations, remote selling, it's just added a completely new dynamic.
I think you made the point at the beginning. It's about, you know, the market catching up with what we've been saying for a really long time, and that's the positive.
Yeah.
Phil?
Yeah, well, I mean, picking up on Chris's point, in terms of the propositions we take to market, we have 44 in the kit bag, so we've got plenty of assets that we have that we can take to customers. But I think the critical shift will be, you know, taking customers on a journey. I think that this whole experience will surface lots of weak points in that whole IT estate or that telephony estate. You know, whether it's doctor surgeries with on-premise technology that actually, you know, we can't actually get to those surgeries, we can't adapt those solutions to cater for remote diagnosis that they're doing now. So you know, they'll want to address those shortcomings as soon as we're able to get out onto site. So I think the challenge and the opportunity we have is to equip our sales team so that they can take people on a journey with a more consulting stance, rather than a let's look at the 44 things in the kit bag, which one do you want today, Mr. Customer? If we can understand and assess that current state, we can have a grown-up conversation about the challenges they face and where they want to be, and then take them on a journey. I think that's the big opportunity we have in the marketplace. And we've been doing lots of training of our team. We've been running wake me up sessions every morning, and we've been running sort of short, snappy training sessions with our team to let them know all of the different things that we have in the kit bag, with the hope that that sort of embeds itself in the psyche, so that our sales team can have those more rounded conversations. So I think that's probably the biggest piece. I think it's great that the kit bag now contains, as we've said on this call, cloud solutions that can be remotely configured, that can be integrated with other things. You know, that's the world we want our customers to live in.
Martin, anything from your side?
Well, we changed to cloud in January, which again, I thank the heavens we did take that jump, and Chris actually was, you know, part of that thing. He said just do it, and I'm glad we did, because I think we would probably be kicking ourselves like mad if we hadn't done, because I think it really has opened us up to a lot of things. Again, we're still sell on-premise, an on-premise solution, and literally we've just done an on-premise solution today that's, you know, cloud wouldn't quite fit round, because it's taken someone from a Samsung over to an LG, so we need that place of it still. So we haven't got really much anything else to really change as such. Again, it's more the methodology, but what we are thinking is with the way that we're selling our systems is we've always sold heavily. I work in a bit of a different way in selling. I don't give the salespeople too many options. It's just something that I've always kind of been brought up on, and I always use the expression "too many shoes." Is if you're with a customer, they want you to have the conversation, and they want you to take them through a process. And I try and simplify everything in our selling, so I don't have all these, you know, can I have a quote, you know, with call recording, without it? Can I have a quote with this and without that? And with this, we do everything as this is the offering. It's got everything within it. So what's going to be great is, you know, where we used to show the reporting element as a really crucial, you know, we used to talk about the executive summary on the toll ring as how important that is. Quite a lot of businesses were like, oh, that's just a nice to have. Actually, but once that's going to be really perfect, because anyone that's working remotely, you're going to want to see those figures. You want to see what people's work rates are like, what their response times are like, because you need that visibility across your staff in however many locations. Because I think Phil mentioned sort of last week, before I had my my blip with the systems, they've got like 308 offices now, and I think, you know, that's what we're going to end up with. You know, I wouldn't want to be an owner of a large office block at the moment, that's for sure, with tenants in it, because I think people are going to be working so remotely. So, you know, we feel very much like we're armed with the best things that we needed. I wish I'd known you were doing a quick quote thing, because that would have been amazing, because at the beginning of this, we're having our website all redone, but we put an online calculator up to order online as quick as we physically could, because we were rushing around for it. And it would have been ideal to have known that, because actually this is brilliant, because we can go out there with that. And I think something else I picked up on with the other guys is the options we need to give now, I think, is keep our, you know, we do longer term long-term contracts, we do the big sort of solution, but what we are going to be doing is offering that flexibility of short contracts, you know, remote only installations, but trying to keep the differentiation. So, you know, keep MTech doing what that's doing, maybe a brand within that does a more of a lower entry kind of stuff, where we again keep it quite straightforward, but enable it so someone can go online. It's a 3-month rolling contract or something like that, where they haven't got to have that big commitment, and have the option of, it's a remote install or a managed remote install, whatever it might be. Just make it another option that we can add to our tool belt. So that's what I think we're going to be doing.
Makes sense. Well, just leave you with one last question each. What do you see the maybe one big challenge and one big opportunity you see coming up in the next few months for your business? What would you say? I'm trying to think who needs to go first. I think it's you, Martin, because you were obviously last time. So you want to go first on that?
I'll see you later. The challenge is getting the little buggers back into work, because they've all been down the beach every day, because obviously where we live. So down in Christchurch, all I've seen on Facebook is the buggers down the beach, sunbathing, drinking all day long. So I phoned one of them this morning just to have a chat with him at like 11 o'clock, and the lazy bugger was just getting out of his bed. And I'm like, right, you better get used to start getting up early, because it's going to be changing very swiftly for you, mate.
It's going to be a bit of a shock.
Because I've never known anything before where people have been off work for so long. So I think one of the biggest challenges is getting everyone back in and refocused again, which I'm sure they will be. But yeah, opportunity. I think it's, everyone you talk to are saying the same things, really. And not just people in telecoms businesses, but if you talk to leasing companies, other businesses, I think ICT is going to be the stronghold out of all of this, and hopefully it's something that we're all going to, relish on and enjoy and really prosper on. And all the things we've been banging on for the last 18 years are suddenly now going to all make sense to people, as Chris put. So that I find is amazing for us and exciting. So yeah, that's
fantastic. Okay.
So I'll go second and leave Chris to put the full stop on it. So opportunity. We as an industry, the fourth utility. If you ask my children, I've said this so many times over recent weeks, if you ask my children, what would you like to shut off? Electricity, water, heating, or our broadband? You can guarantee broadband would be ahead of heating. They'd be quite happy to be cold, but they would not want to not be able to play. And my son is playing FIFA, I think, as you can probably hear it through the walls, virtually with his friends. So we are providing that fourth utility, and that's a massive opportunity for everyone in this space. So I think that's the opportunity. So the challenge is confidence. So every decision to spend, every decision to change requires someone to be confident in the future. And I think that's the big challenge, is how quickly that confidence comes back to anybody holding a pen virtually to sign a contract. And I think that's the big challenge.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, guys. And yeah, I'll just sort of slightly reiterate what Phil's just said, but I think, you're reading all the papers and all the news at the moment. I think there are 6.3 million people in the UK who are furloughed. Yeah, and I think some of the conversations that have been going on amongst lots of business leaders is, I would reckon that half of them believe there's 5.8 million people who are out there unemployed at the moment and just don't know it. And I think that's a real challenge, is those people who are furloughed. Some businesses have mothballed and quite clearly intend to bring lots of people back. But I think there's an awful lot of businesses out there have furloughed people and realised and are using the opportunity not to bring people back. Yeah, and I think that's where a lot as a nervousness is the right way. Pessimism is also another word that the English have and do very, very well. That when they do come back, they're either not going to invest or they're not going to take people because they want their business to change so much. They're using this as an opportunity to really do that. In terms of opportunity, absolutely, the fourth utility is absolutely the right thing. And I think finally, as I said before, I think the SME sector has woken up. Even some of the smallest clients, people doing, people in hairdressers doing, video consultations with people, about getting their hair done, or those innovative ways of using this latest technology. People are going to get a grip of. And as I said before, I don't think we've ever been in a best place in this industry to capitalise on the opportunities that's ahead of us. I don't think I've been as excited, even though I've been locked down for 12 weeks and sat staring at my mates on a video screen. I don't think I've been as excited about the opportunities ahead of us. I think we've all got an absolutely fantastic opportunity. And it's nice to see it on last week, but it's nice to see a manufacturer doing what they say they did. We went to Korea last year and saw the guys put together the new apps and everything else that we were seeing. And, there was a little bit of skepticism on our part about how quickly they'd be delivered. And you'll see to today, there's a real commitment to listening to what we're saying and getting those products out as quickly as they possibly can as a manufacturer to make sure that we retain as one of the leaders in the UK. So hats off, well done, guys.
Thank you. Well, we had Ericsson LG on the call last week. I haven't joined this week. We had our head coming in from Melbourne, and we had the team in Korea joining. So they were really pleased to hear that feedback. Thank you, you all very much. Thanks very much to the three of you. We really appreciate you joining us for the call today, sharing where you're at on all of this. And Martin, particularly, it was lovely to have you this time. Thanks for joining all of you, and look forward to seeing you all face to face soon.
Smashing.
No worries.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
Take it easy.
Bye.
Bye
Thank you.
now.
Cheers.